Welcome to another episode of the Mighty Mentality Mentor podcast. I'm your host, NLOG. So last time, we went over arrival fallacy a little bit more in depth, and we finally were able to get to the conclusion of how do we know what to aim for. And from there, we'd kind of discussed what works for me, and I started to elaborate on how I view taking on new things as a kind of a chemical reaction, and viewing that chemical reaction less like A plus B equals C sort of binary style, what I was using as verbiage, rather than looking at it that way, looking at it a little bit more kind of like a gradient or partial style. And we talked a little bit about limiting reagents and reactants, and how, you know, obviously if you don't have enough reactant, then that's going to kind of be all that you've got. And so it's not as A plus B equals C in its approach, right? You've got varying degrees, a gradient of sorts, right? And then from there we talked about how, you know, jiu-jitsu comes into play, and I kind of use jiu-jitsu as an illustration to go over that point. And then lastly, that change that occurs in you during the journey, right, being what I look at. So today I do want to spend a little bit more time going back and talking about the feedback loop that we talked about in the first episode. I didn't really spend that much time going over it as I was kind of reviewing some of the older episodes, and I wanted to spend some time to really illustrate it. So on the screen you can see a illustration here where you've got mindset up at the top, then you've got skill set, and then you've got your results. And this feedback loop kind of moves top down and bottom up. So let's go over the top down first. So top down, starting from mindset, you know, your mindset can affect your skill set. You know, sometimes the skill sets that you decide you want to take on, those are dependent on the mindset that you have. For me, an example would be how you view yourself is an extension of what you will take on. You know, naturally, the more you believe in yourself, the more ambitious the endeavor may be. If you don't really believe in yourself or believe that you can take things on or accomplish things, then you're going to end up either taking on smaller tasks. You're either going to take on things that are less, that carry less gravity. And you know, a little bit of fake it till you make it tends to creep in. And as some of you may or may not know, not really a big fan of fake it till you make it. We will, with mentality and mindset, we will smash the idea of fake it till you make it. But that's going to be a long game. So, and then moving on, skill sets can affect your results. And so the results that you have, you know, these are dependent on the skill sets that you have. Because depending upon the kinds of results that you have, you may want to change your skill set, add, stop using, let's say, halt, or maybe silence or dim some of your skill sets. You know, as an example, if you have the skill sets to take something on, then you can take it on. Or you could do a better job confirming that the job was done right as compared to if you did not have the skill sets. Think of, say, a home builder. You know, a home builder is going to know exactly what to look for. They're going to have the eye, so to speak. They're going to have the eye to be able to notice certain things. You know, during the time that I was in painting, the talented people that I was around, you know, these folks, they were able to tell if there was a paint job that wasn't done very well, or, you know, if, let's say, for example, in between coats, certain sanding didn't get done, they could tell these things. They got the eye for it. But that comes with experience. That comes with skill set. You can describe things, but to habitually look for things, that takes time. And so again, if you have the skill sets to take something on, then you can take it on, or you can do a better job confirming that the job was done right. Should you decide to, subcontract it out or outsource it, or have somebody else do it, or even review or audit work, right? And so that right there is one example of top down. So a quick recap here, your mindsets can affect your skill set. Your skill set can affect your results. The ways that your mindset affects your skill set is the skill sets that you decide you want to take on. These are dependent on the mindset that you have. The skill sets affecting your results, these results that you have, they are dependent on the skill sets that you have. The bigger the skill set, the easier or better the result is. Whether the result is, how easily you got something done or accomplished it, or the quality of work, your workmanship or what have you. That's where skill set comes into play to adjust your final outcome or your final result. If you're liking what you're hearing, give me a follow on YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok at Mighty Mentality Mentor. On Facebook, give me a follow at mighty.mentality.mentor. And on X at Mighty Mentality. So now I want to take a little bit of time to talk about kind of the bottom-up approach of the illustration of the feedback loop between mindset, skill set, and results. So starting from the bottom this time, your results can affect your skill set, and then your skill set can affect your mindset. So zooming into your results affecting your skill set, depending on the results that you get or have been getting, you can adjust your skill set to add a new one to change your results, right? One example that I had was I decided to learn how to cut my hair during the COVID era. It was outrageous. My hair was crazy. My hair grows relatively quickly compared to other folks. I'm averaging out about, every 2 weeks, 3 weeks, getting a haircut. So during COVID, it was outrageous. Everything was shut down. Couldn't go out, couldn't do anything. I couldn't cut my hair because I didn't know how. And I couldn't visit my folks. My mother actually used to cut my hair for probably the longest time. All throughout my childhood, that's for sure. And a little bit into my adulthood, my mother would cut my hair. And obviously I wasn't living at home at the time. I was living with my ex. And I couldn't visit my parents to have my mother cut my hair. And it was outrageous. I had what I called COVID hair, which I'm sure many of you had or knew about or at least saw a friend have. So, I just decided, what? The second that something happens where I can go and I can purchase a pair of clippers, I'm going to go and I'm going to find out how to cut my own hair. So while everything was sort of shut down, I had actually found a YouTube channel with a person that would actually teach people how to cut hair, their own hair, right? This individual had a channel on YouTube that taught people how to cut their own hair. This guy was amazing. So watch the channel, spent a little bit of time just digesting the philosophies and the way that he was doing things, some of the shortcuts that he found. And apparently he'd been doing it for just under a decade, 9, maybe 10 years, cutting his own hair and showing people on YouTube. And so I said, you know what? This guy's going to be the perfect person for me to learn from. He's been doing it for 10 years. Doesn't even have to do it for 5 years. Hell, He could have done it for a year, and that's good enough for me to be able to learn from him because I was starting from scratch. So anyway, when the first wave of things opening up happened, and the female products was changed to being an essential item that people could actually purchase along with that group of items, ended up being hair clippers. So I went right away to Walmart, purchased one for $20, real cheap, nice and easy, and now I've been cutting my own hair since. And $35 each haircut sounds to me like a pretty good, decent amount of savings per haircut. Because really, I now cut my hair pretty much every week, and trying to be a bonsai tree, But if I'm able to cut my hair every week, let's call it, even if let's say I did it every 2 weeks, that's 26 haircuts in a year at $30 to $35. That money adds up, right? Another example that I had for myself anyway, for how your results can affect your skill set, is during university with my dear cousin, or one of my dear cousins anyway, we ended up actually making music remixes. So we would take an instrumental of one song and an a cappella of another song. An a cappella, for those that don't know, is just the recording of the artist without the background instrumental. And so we would take the a cappellas of one song and the instrumental of another song. We would match the tempos, and then after that push them together and blend them. These are called blending, or remixes, whatever terminology you choose to use. But we would take these and we would blend these, and eventually I started to kind of run out of instrumentals, and I thought, well, what if I learn how to just kind of make these beats myself? There's a gentleman by the name of Ryan Leslie, a phenomenal producer, and at the time he was coming out with YouTube videos showing the process of how he would make instrumentals and music. And to me it seemed like it was relatively easy. All I needed to do is just purchase the equipment, which I was able to purchase for $100 at Long and McQuaid. And from there, it was just a matter of moving in on it. And yeah, that was pretty much it. That's all she wrote. From that point on, I realized I smashed into a wall because I didn't have the musical aptitude for it. I went and I purchased a book called The Idiot's Guide to Music Theory and The Idiot's Guide to Arrangement and Orchestration. And from there, I learned music theory, and I was able to have a different result. So, ergo, my result at the time was I was running out of instrumentals, so I learned how to produce hip-hop and rap music so that I could match my own customized instrumentals with an a cappella of a song that I liked. And then going back to the haircut, my result was I had ridiculous hair, and I needed to increase the skill set to be able to cut my own hair and not be dependent on anybody else. And then from there, I've got my own hair now. I've got my own hair now. I've got my own ability to cut my own hair now, and I'm like a bonsai tree. Week over week, I'm able to keep my hair nice and clean, and I never have the long hair day anymore. And lastly, your skill set affects your mindset. So depending on the skill sets that you have, your mindset can change. So one example would be if you have the skill sets to be able to approach a problem, the mindset that you take with you while taking on that problem will change. If you have the skills, you approach with confidence and poise. And if you don't, oftentimes most people will fake it till you make it, so to speak. So that was a little bit of an illustration of the feedback loop between mindset, skill set, and results. And I want to turn your attention to this awesome video that I found that actually ties into skill sets. So we're going to go ahead and play it now.
Work. No results, but I'm a little bit better. Work. No results, but I'm a little bit better. Work. No results, and I'm a little bit better. Work. Boom.
So as he was saying, you work, and you don't get results, but you're a little bit better, right? And then finally you're able to smash through the wall. One key piece is once you smash through the wall, the game's not over. There's always going to be a next wall in the next room that you got to smash through. And you best believe that wall is always going to be a thicker wall. And so you got to look at it that way. There's levels, like a Mario game almost. There's levels, and they progressively get harder, and your skills need to get better and better in order to comfortably progress through these levels. Sometimes you can pass through that wall without smashing it, though. And some examples of that would be someone from the other side can bring you over, or you can go through the wall after somebody else has broken through or smashed through. And that I would liken to fake it till you make it. Another example would be sometimes you can be given a key to go through the door, but just remember that key only works just that one time for that one door. So that would be like nepotism. You have somebody else bring you in. They bring you in, you get the position. You don't have the skill sets to be able to do it. Are you going to be able to pull that same tactic and get the next promotion? Probably not. So the key only works once. And then lastly, you can pass through like soap and grease and dirt. If we're looking at this image right here, you can see here on the side of the molecule that there is a hydrophobic tail and a hydrophilic head. Hydrophobic being having a phobia of water, so it's not soluble with water, and then a hydrophilic head is soluble with water. So you can see that this micelle, the soap molecules, they actually encapsulate the dirt particles inside the micelle, and this happens with grease as well, right? So that soap is able to pass right through any grease. So rather than mechanically having to scrub it, you can chemically go through it. So you know how it works. So knowing how it works allows you to pass through without smashing walls. And that's a key point. I wanna really bring that home, because that's going to be a key point that we're going to be talking about probably for the rest of the year. It's going to be baked in many of the concepts that we're going to be discussing. So in summary, I want everybody to start to kind of pay attention to the fact that you can be the designer of your own skill sets. There is an idea or a philosophical concept in the past of what's called the Renaissance man. The Renaissance man, according to Britannica, was an ideal that was developed in Renaissance Italy from the notion expressed by one of its most accomplished representatives. His name was Leon Battista Alberti. And the idea was that a man can do all things if he will. And the ideal embodied the basic tenets of Renaissance humanism, which considered man the center of the universe, limitless in his capabilities and capacities for development, and led to the notion that men should try to embrace all knowledge and develop their own capacities as fully as possible. So be the designer of your own skill sets. Okay? So that's pretty much it for today, guys. Next month, we're going to be focusing in on fear and how it gets in the way and manifests itself in different ways, whether it's analysis, paralysis, or perfectionism. What has worked for me when I'm stifled, and perspective and how we view things and how that can affect fear, and what we can do to combat that. Thanks again for listening. If you're liking what you're hearing, give me a follow on YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok at Mighty Mentality Mentor. On Facebook, give me a follow at mighty.mentality.mentor. And on X at Mighty Mentality.